Okay, so I'm going to talk about the difference between TI and TE and truth. If you haven't seen the video I put out about truth, you should go check it out after this video. It's not so important that you need to stop and watch it now, but I really stand by my definition of truth there. And really what TE and TI are going to do, and to some extent FE and FI, is really that system of truth. They're going to figure out truth based on that system that I did it a while ago, but it's still the truth table video. But today I'm going to more talk about TE versus TI and accuracy and precision and double-blind testing and how they all sort of come together in personality. Okay. So if you see over here on this side, you'll see that there's a graph here with higher accuracy and higher precision. So let's start with just defining what precision is. Precision is when all of your points are really close together, okay? And this is more like a TE. It's that everyone agrees. It's that you're able to make a system where all of the points on that system land at the same spot, right? So if you have a personality typing, or if you divide anybody into categories in a way, and you're able to systematically divide them, and everyone agrees and everyone's able to divide them in that way all the time, then you have a very precise test. Okay, your test is very precise, but it might not be accurate. You see how there's a bias, how it's a little bit far away from the middle, so it's not really accurate. And then a higher accuracy, you'll see that all the points are getting closer to the middle. Okay, now they might not be precise, they're not all on the same spot, right? So you might, mistype someone. You see this person here is in the white, not in the red, okay? But at least the test is close to the middle, okay? At least the test is accurate. And then here, obviously, the best is if you have a high accuracy and a high precision. And so how do you get to that, right? So first thing you need to know is that TE is trying to get something really precise, that where everyone agrees on something, where everything is agreeable, right? And TI is sort of more looking for what is an objective truth, what is objectively closer to the middle, right? And it cares a little bit less about precision and more about accuracy when it's trying to figure out its truth. Um, so if you're able to compare this to like an outside source, so then you can get your accuracy higher to some objective source. So in the lab we use a calibration source, something that's been calibrated very accurately to something that's more precise than it, right? And it's big news now. It's up until recently the gram was the thing that defines the kilogram was stored in France, and now it's been changed. But like that's sort of the way you get something that's really really accurate, and then you compare it to your test and calibrate your test based on that accuracy. Okay. So obviously with personality typing, it would be really hard to get to accuracy because accuracy is truth, right? It's objective truth. That's what accuracy is. And, we don't know, typing might just like, put it this way, a typing test, it's a way to divide people, right? And we could divide people based on what color they like, right? I don't know what patterns you'll find between all the people that like red and all the people that like blue, but there might even be patterns there. And then you could subdivide those categories and those categories based on completely arbitrary divisions that have nothing to do with truth, and find patterns there. And you can use these patterns. These patterns might even be useful. Like they might tell what kind of jobs you like, and it might tell what kind of people you like, and what your weaknesses are, and things like that. I'm just going to do up this button. I didn't notice. So a higher, so you might be like really precise with that test and statistically divide people along those lines over and over again. You might have a very high repeatability, as that's what you're looking for, but it just might not really coincide with something real, with something that's lining up with reality, right? And so that's what TE is going to try to do. It's going to try to get everyone to agree on something, right? And they might be completely wrong, but we're all agreeing, okay? And there is a very big use to that agreement. So in the laboratories, what we do is we take in order to measure if we are precise or not, is we do interlab comparisons. And basically what we do is we have some testing method, and it's a standardized testing method, and all of the labs in the world are going to use the same standardized testing method. And what we do is we send our results. We get some sample, and we send our results on this sample back to someone who's going to do a statistical analysis on all these results. And then they'll say, okay, you agree with all the other labs, right? You are precise. Doesn't mean we're accurate, okay, but we're precise, okay? There's a precision between all of the labs. And in order to know we're accurate, we need to use a outside calibration source in order to bring into our standardization method so that we're all precise and accurate simultaneously. But if we all calibrate, if everyone calibrates something to an inaccurate calibration source, we'll still be very precise, okay? But we'll have a bias. Will be the inaccuracies, the lies, are going to cause the same deviation in our results, okay? So if you have a standardized testing method for typing people, you'll do the same thing. You'll between different people, and you can have like a perfect system, a perfect standardized system to test and type people, and it would be consistent, and everyone will agree, and we'll be able to standardize this division and fracturization of people into these little groups, and it might even be useful. We might get like really useful information based on the way that we divide people. But it doesn't mean it's going to be accurate. It just means it's going to be a very precise method, okay? And precision is useful. It can be very useful. And I'll give an example. Like, say everybody is inaccurate, but they're all very precise, and we all get precise values on whatever we're testing. And we're testing metal for a bridge, okay? And we're testing the strength of that metal. So let's say we get between 0 and 100, just to make it simple, and we say anything that's below 50, you can't use it on the bridge. It's too weak. Anything that's above 50, you can use it on a bridge. It's strong enough, okay? And then let's say the bridge collapses, and we go back to the data, to the lab that tested it, and you see, no, the lab was really precise. They were right. They got a value of 51. Okay, they got a value of 51. So that's high enough. That was high enough for it to be used on the bridge, but the bridge collapsed. So what you're going to come and do, the people who make the laws about how strong metal needs to be in order to be used on a bridge, they'll say, okay, well, the cutoff of 50 was a bit too low. Let's put the cutoff at 55 now and see what happens. And so now only metal that's stronger than 55 is going to be used on the bridge, and you would have completely avoided collapsing bridges, right? And so this is a case where the precision is really important. And based on precise results, we're able to know which metal can be used and which metal can't be. Like we're precisely dividing metal into usable and non-usable for bridges, right? So there's an intrinsic value in precision, and if you have a personality test that arbitrarily divides people, but you get like further and further divisions, and then within those divisions you can see like similarities and commonalities. So that test is useful. It's a useful test, right? There's nothing wrong. But if you want to compare it to something outside of the test, something to calibrate it, right? Like you could be making a mistake even within your system, but as long as everybody is making the same exact mistake, you're going to get the same results, right? You're going to get a very precise test. It might be wrong, but you'll get a precise test. So just an idea for maybe personality testing. Like my first idea was maybe like if people actually knew what was going on inside, if they were objectively able to do that, and then you type them, and then they said, nah, that's not my type. My type is actually this. So that might be a good way to get accuracy on your types. And like, okay, well, we got to fix our system and we got to type them right this time, right? But that doesn't work because people might not be completely objective, and you can't really try to get your results to match what people are saying, because otherwise you won't get a standardized test, right? So the other way I thought is maybe take an MRI device, and this is based on Dave's test, because Dave's test is getting to a point where he's really precise. They're getting to a 90% precision, and the validity of the test and the usefulness of the results can't be questioned, right? Because it's useful. They're useful results. They're able to categorize people and see patterns and see problem areas that people need to work on based on all of this test, right? So I mean, and in the same way, MBTI would have been a very valid test as well, because it's dividing people, and the lines could be completely arbitrary, but MBTI was also somewhat of a valid test, right? But if you were to take like an MRI device, and it's just based on the theory that comes out of this test. Let's see if I can put the theory up here. Okay, let's move it a bit. Well, it's yeah, you won't be able to see the whole thing. I'll move it to the left here. Whoop. Anyway, you have this theory. So you have these four areas on the coin. Okay, and if you were to take an MRI and you were to take people that you've already typed them, you already know their type, okay? And you take this MRI and you give them a task that puts them into this place, okay? Then you give them a task that puts them here. You give them a task that puts them here, and you give them a task that puts them here, and you compare the brain scan results of these people, of this person that was typed, okay? And then you compare it to other people that were typed exactly the same, okay? And you see how these brain scans compare. And then you take it from someone else who was typed completely differently, and you do the same thing, and you look at their brain scans, and you see how it was typed differently, right? And so, and after you do this, if you see that the typing system is able to really divide people on the way the MRI scans are working, then you would know that that there is something real here. There's some objective truth that you can compare your typing system to, right? And then you could see, okay, well, this person's brain is behaving completely different, and you stuck them in this category, and then you'd be like, we need to refine our testing method to account for this, right? This objective truth that is outside of our system. And then slowly but surely you'll be able to develop a system that is, let's bring this back down, that is accurate, right? So you'll have a precise and accurate system right in here that is typing people. So I mean, I think that's the next step. But so like just the fact that Dave is able to get very precise results it's very promising. But like I said before, if they're making an error, right? If they're making an error, and they're making the same error consistently, they'll be getting the same results, right? And they'll be grouping people the same way. But anyway, so that's just the point on accuracy and precision and type testing. So it's something I need to be careful of. But the reason why I think Dave's actually does have a high degree of accuracy as well is really because of because of the system that came out. Yeah. So I was able to theoretically represent his system, and it makes sense. Like the system makes sense, and this is Jung's division of a personality. It's not Dave's division, but it makes sense logically that we would have these functions and we will work in this way. Like we'll have a robotic section that'll work like a robot, and then we'll have a human section that'll work like the most human of humans, and we'll have a mix of the two, I guess, in both sides here, like a materialistic section and a high intelligence section, or whatever, what's it called, a conceptual intelligence section. I don't know. And it also makes sense that like we can't have robot because what'll happen is we'll get a perfect picture of reality, but we won't be able to compress it, so we won't be able to store it, right? So every single time you need a way to compress the information. So you either compress the information first and then you store it, or you get the information and then compress it, right? And so then you have a more efficient storage, right? Someone who would be like a robot with perfect picture of reality will have this, and then another SI here, but maybe they just won't be able to identify faces, right? So but anyway, the system sort of makes sense, and when I put it into this framework, it also makes a bit more sense. And like it might not match exactly how they're testing. I'll bring back up this. So yeah, it might not exactly match. The accuracy of the system I developed and their test might not match, right? There might be some kind of it might not be here with my system and their testing. It might be like this. So it could be the system is wrong, or their testing is wrong, or it just doesn't match, right? But Yeah, that's basically it. And someone reminded me that I'm not telling you to subscribe and like the video. So I'm going to tell you right now, you are commanded. I'm going to hypnotize you. You are commanded to like and subscribe to my video, and whatever, do whatever you want. But people like apparently, if you don't remind people, they'll forget, and then they might want to like and subscribe, but they just won't do it because you never told them. So I'm telling you, like and subscribe. All right, have a good one. Bye.